He stood in his penthouse apartment, wrapped in glass walls and silence. The skyline of New York stretched out before him like something he owned. Inside, it was quiet. Too quiet. But then her voice cut through it, gentle but certain, as if holding back the tide inside her. "I'm pregnant." He turned, slowly, with his hands in the pockets of his $1,000 suit. His face didn't change. No smile. No frown. Just stillness. Like her words didn't land. Like they were said in another language. But they weren't. He heard them. He just didn't want to. She stood in front of him holding the ultrasound printout. Her fingers were trembling, but her eyes stayed steady. There was so much she could have said. So many ways she could have screamed or pleaded. But all she did was stand there. Quiet. Hopeful. Vulnerable. Still believing he might care. He looked at the picture. Briefly. Then looked back at her. "I love someone else," he said. She flinched. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Her body took a step back before her mind could decide. "You, what?" He sighed. As if this was all inconvenient. As if she'd interrupted a carefully arranged life that didn't include her. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I've changed. You're great, but she's better for my future." Her mouth stayed open. But now her hand lowered slowly. The ultrasound, still glowing with promise, began to crumple in her fingers. "You said I was your future. We talked about kids. You looked at names with me. That was before. Things changed." She closed her eyes. Her shoulders shook, but she didn't let him see the tears. She wouldn't let him have that. "So that's it? You just walk away? From me? From your child?" He turned away and stared out the window like the city would save him from guilt. "You'll be fine. You're strong. You'll figure it out." She was shaking now. Not from fear. From fury. "You don't get to do this. You don't get to call me strong and then abandon me. This is your child too." His jaw clenched. His voice stayed cool. "I'm not ready to be a father. I can't be what you need." She stepped back, clutching the printout to her chest. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned. "I don't need you. But they might. And when the day comes that you want to know them, remember this moment. Remember the man you chose to be." She turned and walked out. No yelling. No begging. Just the sound of her heels on the marble floor. Her tears didn't fall until the elevator door closed. She disappeared. He told himself it was for the best. He told himself she'd be okay. He drowned himself in deals and champagne. Publicity photos. Board meetings. Headlines. He was the man of the moment. But he couldn't stop thinking about that last look in her eyes. He tried to ignore it. Tried to forget the date she said the baby was due. But every time he saw a child on the street, his chest tightened. Still, he never called. Never searched. Because he told himself it wasn't his problem anymore. What he didn't know was this. She moved far away. Changed her number. Changed her name. Rented a small place in a quiet town where no one knew her. She bought second-hand furniture. Took online jobs. Cooked simple meals. And 3 months later, the ultrasound revealed something that made her breath catch. 3 heartbeats. Triplets. She sat alone in the clinic parking lot for nearly an hour. Just staring at the sky. Laughing and crying and terrified. But she didn't run. She didn't give up. She made a plan. She gave birth in a small hospital room, with no one in the waiting area. No balloons. No flowers. Just a nurse holding her hand and the sound of 3 tiny cries. She named them after virtues she'd lost. Hope, grace, faith. And every night, she whispered into their ears, "You were wanted." Even when he didn't want you. She worked late nights, folded laundry between feedings, sold crafts on weekends. She built a world where they would never feel like second choices. The town grew to love her. The neighbor brought groceries when she fell sick. A teacher offered free tutoring. She never asked for help, but people gave it anyway. She never told the girls about their father. Only that he wasn't ready. They never asked. Because they had everything that mattered. Back in the city, the CEO signed a deal worth 8 figures. Cameras flashed. Smiles widened. Champagne flowed. But that night, alone in his penthouse, he stared out the window. The skyline still glittered. But his heart felt colder than it used to. He poured a drink. And for a split second, he wondered what she named the baby. He didn't know it would be 3. He didn't know his life had already changed. And he had no idea what was waiting just 2 years down the road. It started with a name on a report. A small tech firm outside Boston. Nothing special on the surface. But its numbers were clean. Its growth too rapid for its zip code. Its values, familiar. The CEO read the name 3 times. Didn't know why it tugged at something buried. But he circled it anyway. Let's acquire them. He told his assistant to book a flight. Just 1 day. In and out. Make it fast. He arrived in that small town on a rainy Tuesday. The kind of place where people wave to strangers. The kind of place where no one wears a suit. He wore one anyway. Charcoal gray. Pressed to perfection. As he stepped out of the car and into the town square, he felt overdressed. Out of place. Too loud in a town that whispered. He didn't plan to stay long. Just a meeting with the local firm's founder. Until he saw a face. One he'd erased from memory. Or tried to. She was across the street. Holding a child's hand. Then another's. And then another. Triplets. They couldn't be older than 2. His heart slammed against his chest. His legs didn't move. It was her. Hair tied up in a messy braid. A grocery bag in one arm. Her laugh floating through the street like it belonged there. She hadn't seen him yet. The little girls were tugging at her legs. One dropped a toy. The other pointed to a dog. The third looked up and asked something he couldn't hear. And she answered with a soft smile. That same smile he used to wake up beside. He stepped off the curb. Without thinking. Like something in him just reacted. She turned. Saw him. And time folded in on itself. She didn't gasp. Didn't run. Didn't even look surprised. She looked at him like a stranger she almost remembered. He stood in front of her. Words gone. Pulse racing. Memories crashing. "You look lost," she said. Voice calm. Not cruel. Not cold. Just distant. "I didn't know you were here," he finally said. She nodded. That's the point. The children stared at him. Curious. One tilted her head. The other hid behind her mother's leg. The third just blinked. He looked at them. Then back at her. "Are they?" "Yes," she said. Before he could finish. "They're yours." He couldn't speak. He couldn't even breathe. 2 years of pretending he was fine. 2 years of convincing himself he made the right choice. 2 years of parties and press and profit. And here they were. His daughters. 3 pieces of himself he never knew existed. Why didn't you tell me? His voice cracked. The first time it had in years. She looked at him. Really looked at him. Because you chose someone else. Because you said you weren't ready. Because you made it clear I didn't belong in the world you wanted. I deserved to know. He whispered. No. She said. They deserved peace. And I gave it to them. She turned to walk away. The girls followed her without question. Like they knew this was just a stranger. Not their father. He stood there. In the middle of the street. While rain began to fall. He watched them go. Their small pink jackets bright against the gray sky. He didn't chase her. He didn't know how. That night he sat in the small hotel room. Staring at the ceiling. His phone buzzed with updates. Board decisions. Stock movement. He didn't care. All he could see were 3 little faces. And the woman who used to love him like no one else did. He opened his laptop. Typed her name. Nothing came up. She had erased herself completely. He found the address of the small company he was meant to visit. Decided to go. Maybe she worked there. Maybe it was hers. When he arrived, she wasn't there. But someone else was. A young woman with kind eyes. We don't have a CEO. She said. Just a community. He blinked. Confused. We're worker-owned. Started by a single mother 2 years ago. She taught us to build together. Said the world doesn't need more bosses. Just more people who care. He nodded slowly. Already knowing. Do you know where she is now? The woman smiled. She's at the community center. Story time with the little ones. He walked there. 1 step at a time. And through the glass doors. He saw her. Sitting cross-legged on a mat. Reading to a room of toddlers. His daughters sitting closest. Eyes wide. Smiles wide. She looked happy. Really happy. And for the first time in a long time. He felt like an intruder in a life that had moved on without him. He left without saying anything. Back to the hotel. Back to silence. He opened his phone. Found the old photos. Their trip to the lake. The selfie on her birthday. The message she sent the night he left. It's okay. I'll be okay. Just wish it didn't have to be this way. He closed his eyes. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel like a CEO. He felt like a man who had ruined everything. He left the town that night. But something followed him. Not her. Not the children. Guilt. It sat with him in the back of the car. It paced beside him through the airport. It laid next to him in his penthouse bed. He tried to work. Tried to distract himself with quarterly reports and launch decks. But nothing landed anymore. Nothing felt solid. Her face kept coming back. Those girls. Their eyes. All 3 had the same storm in them that used to live in his. He hadn't just missed birthdays. He missed first steps. First words. First nights with a fever. First drawings taped to the fridge. He missed life. And the part that stung worst of all was that they didn't even miss him. He returned a week later. No assistant. No press. Just him. He rented a car this time. Drove himself to the town. Parked across from the community center. He waited until story time was over. Watched her walk out with the girls. One of them held her hand. Another walked ahead. The third stopped and stared at him again. Like she remembered his face from somewhere deep in her bones. He got out of the car. Crossed the street. Didn't wear a suit this time. Just jeans. A button down. Soft shoes. She saw him coming. Didn't flinch. Didn't smile. Just looked tired. "You're back," she said. Not as a question. Just a fact. "I want to talk," he said. She looked at the girls. Then nodded toward the bench nearby. "You have 5 minutes." He sat. So did she. The girls played nearby in the grass. "I didn't know. I didn't imagine you'd leave like that. Or keep them from me." She folded her arms. Not angry. Just clear. "You left first. You made your choice. I made mine. To protect them. From someone who looked at fatherhood like a burden. I was scared," he said quietly. She turned her face away. "That's not good enough." "I know." He nodded. "But I'm not here for apologies. Not only that. I want to be in their lives." She looked at him now. Really looked. "Why now? Why not then?" "Because I didn't know what I had. Because I thought success looked like something else." She shook her head. "They're not props. They're not a redemption arc. They're people. Little people. Who don't know you. Who didn't grow up needing you." He swallowed. Tried to stay steady. "Let me try. Let me start small. I won't force anything. I'll show up. I'll earn it." She looked over at the girls. One was trying to blow a dandelion. The other was watching a butterfly. The third fell and got right back up. "They're strong," she whispered. "Because I had to be." He nodded. "And now I want to be part of that strength." She sighed. "We'll see." And that was more than he expected. He started with mornings. He waited by the corner when she walked them to daycare. Just waved. Didn't approach. The first time they ignored him. The second time they looked. The third time one of them waved back. Then came story nights. He asked if he could join once a week. She let him sit in the corner of the library while she read. He didn't speak. Just listened. Watched. Then came craft day. He bought supplies. Sat at the kid table with glue in his hair. Then came questions. "Are you mommy's friend? Why do you look like us? Why do you smile like that when we laugh?" He answered gently. One question at a time. Then came the first hug. It wasn't long. Wasn't tight. But it shattered something in him. He started leaving little drawings on their art table. Notes that said, "You're brave. You're kind. You make the world better." He meant every word. One evening, one of the girls tripped and scraped her knee. Before she could cry, he was there, holding her hand, helping her breathe through it. And she looked up at him, eyes wet, and said, "You came back." He froze. Then whispered, "Yes. I came back." She watched all of it. Quietly. From a distance. At night she would sit by the window. A cup of tea in her hands. Wondering if people could really change. He never once mentioned the past. Never blamed. Never asked for credit. He just showed up. Again and again. And slowly. She softened. Not in love. Not yet. But in forgiveness. He invited them to the park one Saturday. Just for an hour. She came too. They played tag. Built sand castles. He got mud on his shirt and didn't care. They laughed. All 5 of them. Together. And for the first time, it felt like a family. Not perfect, but real. That night he asked if he could take them for ice cream the next day. Alone. She hesitated, looked him in the eyes, and said, "Don't hurt them. Never again." He promised. And she believed him. Just a little. It was raining when he returned to the park. The same bench. The same trees. But everything felt different now. Because this time he wasn't looking for peace. He was looking for the truth. And deep inside he feared it. The umbrella trembled slightly in his hand as he spotted them. The woman he once said goodbye to. And the 3 little girls he had no right to love. They were playing again. Jumping in puddles. Giggling at worms on the sidewalk. She was watching them with a kind of tired warmth. Like her heart had finally accepted a war it could never win. He stepped forward. Slowly. The wind blew his coat back. And when she turned and saw him, it wasn't surprise on her face. It was silence. Deep and familiar. He walked closer. Past the puddles. Past the fear. Until he was standing just feet from her. And then she whispered it. Not loudly. Not angrily. Just like a secret she'd carried too long. Why now? He had no answer. So he asked something else. Are they mine? She closed her eyes. And he felt like the world paused. The girls ran around them in circles. Shoes splashing water. Laughter breaking the tension. And finally she nodded. But not the way he expected. Not like a mother confessing. More like a woman setting herself free. They asked about you every day. His breath caught. Even before they knew who you were. She looked away. As if the sky might answer the question he never asked. He sat down on the bench beside her. Not touching her. Not speaking. Just listening to the sound of his daughters laughing. For the first time. And that's when he noticed. One of them was staring at him. The one who looked most like him. She walked up. Tiny pink dress soaked at the bottom. Blue eyes wide. Are you mommy's friend? He swallowed hard. Looked at her face. At the shape of her mouth. At the way her eyes curved when she smiled. I think I am. She sat beside him. So naturally. So confidently. Like she had waited years for that moment. The others followed. One sitting on his right knee. Another on the grass near his shoe. And suddenly, his heart was full of names he didn't even know. He turned to the woman. His voice almost breaking. Do they know? She shook her head. Not the whole truth. He looked at the girls again. He couldn't stop looking. Let me tell them. The words shocked even him. She looked startled. Not angry. Just unsure. But then. She nodded. And so he turned. And for the first time. Spoke to his daughters. I have something to tell you. They stared. Quiet now. Like they knew this was important. He opened his mouth. And paused. Because how do you tell a child? You've missed every birthday. Every Christmas. Every tear. How do you say sorry? When sorry isn't enough. But then one of them reached out. Touched his hand. And whispered. It's okay. And somehow. That broke him. He wept. Right there. In front of them all. And none of them moved away. The woman stood. Watched quietly. As the man she once loved. Became the father she had always wished he could be. And in that moment, they weren't broken anymore. They were just late. Later than they should have been. But maybe not too late. Because love doesn't need permission. It only needs presence. The sun peeked through the clouds. A faint rainbow rising over the park. And as the girls pulled his hands, asking about stories, and birthdays, and pancakes, he stood, looked back at the woman, and simply said, "I'm here now." She nodded. Not with a smile, but with eyes full of tears. And he took one step closer to the life he never knew he had. The camera pans wide. As the four walk down the path. The mother standing behind. Watching the family she built from broken pieces. And as the screen fades, one final line appears. Some truths take time. But the heart always knows.